I think the first thing that you'll see a dramatic change in is the amount of time that you have left over when you give up all of the negative kind of emotions. How much more fulfilling and gratifying your life becomes. We'll start with your own physical health. 10 years ago, I weighed 30 pounds more than I do now. I wasn't exercising. I was not watching my nutrition. I was a candidate for a heart attack. I was not practicing good physical health principles. Now, I never really made a conscious decision to say, all right, I'm going on a diet. All right, I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to watch the sugar, and I'm going to get the salt out of my diet. And I'm not going to have caffeine in my diet, and I'm not going to have poisons in my system. I never did that. Those become natural outgrowths of self-love, the non-self-serving kind of self-love, the kind of self-love that is like having a quiet love affair with yourself, where you don't have to tell anybody. It's not necessary. It's just a given. It just is. You begin to see dramatic changes. I started running 10 years ago, and once I got myself into shape, I ran a minimum of 8 miles every day. And I got into a streak, and it's almost 9 years now, of continuous, every day, never missing a day of running. And at this point, exercising and being trim is just what I am. I am trimness. I'm not trying to get there. What I'm really saying is that that is not me anymore, and you don't have to go through any pain and suffering in order to get there. It automatically becomes a response. That your body, when you start conditioning it, when you put lots of water in your body and flush it out and keep it clean, that comes from a premise of self-love and some of these principles that I talked about earlier. All right? So when you ask about the benefits in the physiological area are astounding. And they just seem to get a hold of you, and you begin to make intelligent choices or healthy choices that are good for the organism. They come about naturally when you start operating your life on this inner kind of glow that I'm talking about, this serenity. You see, I think that there's more to the universe than what the pragmatists would have us believe. I am open to everything being possible and operate from the premise that nobody knows enough to be a pessimist. Right? None of us know enough. We know so little about the universe. I mean, I laugh in the newspapers. Just last week I saw a story about the quasars, these stars that are out at the edge of the universe. And I said, what is this edge of the universe? I mean, what's there at this edge? Is there a wall there? Or is there a cliff? I mean, what is it? And how did it get there? And what's on the other side? We can't comprehend within ourselves something that has no beginning and no end, because all the things that we are limited to in this space that we occupy now start with beginnings and ends. Everything has a cause and an effect. Try to contemplate for a moment a world which has no cause and effect, in which everything just is, just the way it is. And one thing doesn't cause the other. It is, and it always has been. Try to think of eternity, when we talk about an eternity, as something that we can't comprehend because we're confined in the body that we occupy to only think in terms of when we began and when we end. Look at your body right now, and look at your fingers, and look at your arms and all that, and remind yourself that who you are is not those things. That those fingers were very different when you were a month old. You still were. You still existed. You are not your fingers, or your bones, or your nose, or your ears, or your hair, or any of those things. Those things have all undergone dramatic shifts in your lifetime, however old you are, and yet your essence, whoever you are, continues. It goes on, and it continues to occupy many, many different bodies. This is not a case for reincarnation. It's not a case for anything. It is looking at the world from a perspective of awe and magnificence and openness to everything being possible. And that whatever it is that you call mysticism or metaphysics or whatever is nothing more than just the things that we have been limited to because we only understand what we're confined to. We can have anything for ourselves when we're open to that. As you look through all of the great teachings there have ever been, that one principle of self-acceptance, self-love, taking good care of yourself, all seems to permeate all of the teachings. They just seem to go back. That can't be an accident. There's got to be some truth to that. If you can accept that you are something other than just what your body is, even though it defines rationality and it defines scientific verification and all of that, you can accept that because we know that that's true. Bucky Fuller told us that 99% of what we are is untouchable, unsmellable, invisible. 99% of our essence. We can't get a hold of it, we can't smell it, we can't touch it, and we can't see it. It's whatever that conscious awareness is that we experience for whoever we are. And that conscious awareness that we carry around with us can bring about magnificent changes in our lives. The physiological changes I've alluded to, without trying to change anything dramatically in us, when we become more and more enlightened, if you will, and that's a wonderful thing to know.
Essentially, energy field theory says that there is an invisible vibratory field of energy surrounding all living objects, including human beings. This field is created by how we think and process our experiences wherever we are in the world. At certain levels of consciousness, the energy field vibrates fast. At other levels of consciousness, the energy vibrates slowly. Essentially, there is a continuum along which varying levels of consciousness are responsible for creating the field of energy. We encounter different energy fields when we are within each other's physical proximity. Where there is strong, continuous energy for extended periods of time, even when people are gone, the field of energy can remain intense. For instance, we often feel sad or happy without realizing that we have entered a field of energy that is invisibly present. While touring the home of Anne Frank in Amsterdam, I almost had to force myself to breathe. The air seemed so heavy throughout this house, which was now a museum where millions of people have come to share the story of Anne Frank. The joyous energy field also remains in places where it predominates. In the presence of highly advanced spiritual people, one can feel love and be transformed in consciousness just by being in their field of energy. Ella Wheeler Wilcox unknowingly captured the essence of field energy theory with these two famous lines: "Laugh and the world laughs with you. Weep and you weep alone." Many years ago, I had an experience while walking on the beach which illustrates the message in this popular poem. A woman approached me who was moving to Florida from Chicago. She recognized me from a television appearance the night before. She said, "Do you live here in South Florida?" And I responded that I did and was taking a beach walk after returning from an all-night flight. Then she asked me a commonly heard question: "What are the people like here?" I responded with a question of my own: "What are the people like in Chicago?" She smiled broadly and told me how warm and friendly people were in the Midwest, and I told her immediately, "That's pretty much what you're going to find here." On my return walk along the same beach, a woman whose husband was being transferred to Miami from New York stopped me to say that she had seen me on television the night before and how much she enjoyed the show. We struck up a conversation, and then she asked me the same question I had heard only an hour before on the very same beach. Naturally, I asked her the same question in return: "What are the people like in New York?" She launched into a tirade on how insensitive, cliquey, and unfriendly it was in the big city, and I responded, "That's pretty much what you're going to find here." We attract into our lives pretty much what we ourselves project with our own attitude. In general, those who feel that the world is a cesspool notice the vermin, while those who believe in the goodness of humanity see others of like mind. Many people lament the poor quality of service in contemporary America. "You just can't get good service" is a gripe you hear daily. In fact, Time magazine did a cover story on the decline of service in every field, from retail stores and restaurants to getting your watch repaired. Recently, on a television show where everyone on the panel unanimously agreed on the poor quality of service, I disagreed. I explained that I felt expectation attracted what it expected. When I enter any retail store or restaurant, I expect to be treated cheerfully and politely, and that's pretty much what I get. If I can't find a salesperson to wait on me, I refuse to contaminate my energy field with thoughts of displeasure and disgust. Instead, I begin sending out the energy that I want to find. If I encounter a surly waiter, I immediately bring him into my field of energy with, "Looks like it's been a tough day. I understand. And you've just been rewarded with a customer who appreciates you and how tough your job is. Take your time." Lo and behold, the poet is right. Be glad and your friends are many. Be sad and you'll lose them all. Your field of energy radiates at whatever vibratory frequency you generate. You are impacting and being impacted by the energy fields of many people each and every day. Refuse to give energy to things you don't want or don't believe in is a very powerful piece of advice. Anytime you opt for weeping rather than laughing, sighing rather than singing, grieving instead of rejoicing, sadness over gladness, fasting in favor of feasting, or pain in favor of pleasure, you are making a choice to slow down your vibrations and to pollute your immediate mental energy field. Every morning as you take in your first view of day, you have the choice to say, "Good morning, God," or "Good God, morning." Whichever you choose is precisely the energy that you will invite into your life. Indeed, there is room in the halls of pleasure for a long and lordly train. Remember Ella Wheeler Wilcox's poem while you increase the vibration of your energy field with these adjustments to your attitude.
I am not a body with a soul. I'm a soul with a body. All right? And when you understand that, your aging, you're getting older, is not the condition of your body, because you're not your body. Thought is everything. And attitude is everything. So that getting older, having your form get older is just one thing, but if you're transformed, if you've gone beyond your form, then you don't have to get older. It's just a way of looking at your life. And yes, your body will slow down, and yes, it won't be able to do the things that it could do at one time. But most of that is controlled by our thinking, by our attitude. And I have a child inside of me, and I choose to think of myself, regardless of what anybody else thinks. Even if a stewardess thinks that little baby carriage could be for a granddaughter, if that's what she thinks, that's just what she thinks. But if I don't think that way, and I don't think of myself as old or as getting worse or anything like that, if I see myself as the way that I think, the irony of all of this is that your body will respond in ways that are very healthful and even youthful. But if you focus just on your body, then you will notice everything about it that is changing and assess it in a way that says, I am deteriorating. But if what I am is not my body, but my thoughts, then it can never deteriorate. And you can't kill thoughts. You can't kill feelings. You can only kill form. But if you are not that form, then you know that your conscious awareness can never die. You can't change that. It just changes from one form to another form to another form. And that's the way I tend to look at it. And so I don't see any effects of my form getting older. I see every once in a while a new little wrinkle. I'll see changes in that have taken place in my body. And I see a phenomenal miracle in this whole business called life. And that doesn't have to change just because your form is growing older. It just doesn't have to. I don't, anyway, assess my value and worth as a human being based on my form, on my body. And then my body is able to stay in phenomenal shape because of the way that I think. I eat a third of what I used to eat, all right, and in total bulk in a given day. I sleep probably a third less than I used to sleep. I don't put sugar into my body except just natural from fruits and things. I don't use salt on my foods at all. These are all things that I did regularly in my life. I exercise and walk almost everywhere that I go. I run 8, 10, 12 miles every single day. None of these things were ever deliberate choices that I decided I better make because my body's getting older and I have to take better care of it. They came about, they followed me as a result of being in a higher state of pure thought, a higher state of self-acceptance, of seeing myself as an important, significant human being, and living that way, and seeing other people that way, and seeing the world that way, in this more purified kind of way, more loving kind of way. All the other stuff has followed after me. It's alarming that when you unclog yourself, that your body goes right with it. And your body doesn't have to wear out nearly at the level that I once thought it had to. And I think if you keep a real strong grip on the way that you think and process your world, you will see your body getting healthier, more capable than you ever thought it would be. Even the total wearing out of your body, I think, is an attitude. I really do. Almost always people have prepared themselves for death from the time that they know that there's such a thing. We're the only animal on our planet that does that. I mean, dogs don't go out there and prepare to die. And horses and mosquitoes and all that, they're just out there being, all right? And I've often said that we're not human doings, all right? We're human beings. If we were just what we did, then somehow the term human doing would have evolved. But no, we're not. We're beings. We're being. That means to be, all right? Not to judge, not to evaluate. And that if you don't prepare yourself for death and wearing out and getting sick and thinking that you're going to slow down, if you don't think in those kinds of ways, then I guess your body doesn't have to wear out. I mean, it sounds like a real radical kind of notion, but the cells don't wear out. There's something in the aging process that has to do with the thoughts that we are. And once we have learned how to transcend the kinds of thoughts that prepare us for getting older and more feeble, then I believe we will have conquered the aging process.
There's also something inside of you that is not finite. Body is finite. All your possessions are finite. Everything up here on this stage is finite. That means it had a beginning. It means it ends someplace. But inside of us, there's something that is the opposite of finite, which is infinite or infinite. And it has no beginning. And because it has no beginning, it has no end. Emily Dickinson, the great poet, said that this quiet dust was gentlemen and ladies and lads and girls, was laughter and ability and sighing and frocks and curls. This passive place, a summer's nimble mansion where bloom and bees fulfilled their oriental circuit, then ceased, like these. When my mom passed away, they gave us an urn, as she was cremated, and they gave us an urn of her ashes, it was dust. And I looked at my two brothers and I said, surely this isn't Mother. This isn't the woman who had to struggle the way she struggled and deal with the things that she had to deal with in her life, this beautiful soul. You know, Longfellow said that life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal. Dust thou art, to dust returneth, was not written of the soul. The soul is beyond all of that, because it has no beginning and it has no end. And something that has no end means it has to keep what? It has to keep growing. It has to be. It just continues to grow. I wrote these words out about the soul. The ideal of the soul, the thing it asks for, is neither knowledge or light or happiness. The ideal of the soul is space, immensity. The one thing it needs is to be free to expand and to reach out to embrace the infinite. Yeah, the ideal of the soul is infinity. It's miserable when it's circumscribed and restricted in any way. You know, before I had any children, I had 8 theories about how to raise children. I even wrote about them, all right? Then I had 8 children, and now I have no theories about how to raise children. But one of the things I know for sure about raising 8 children is that nobody likes being told what to do. That little voice that you've all heard that says, "You're not the boss of me. You can't tell me what to do. I'm my own boss. I can think for myself." That's not the bratty outbursts of a spoiled child. That's someone who's saying, "I have a soul. I don't want to be fenced in. Don't put me in a box. Don't make my life what yours wasn't. Don't tell me what I should be or can't be." It's the infinite within each and every one of us. That's the soul. And every single one of us has it, and none of us wants to be put into a box. And all we want to do is continue to grow. And one of the things I can tell you at this age of 74 is that it's just operating in me as full-time as it possibly could be. I am in a constant state of growing now, and almost an elevated state of growing, just really moving, and things are coming to me so rapidly. Like this book, The Impersonal Life, and another book. You know, Maya Angelou passed away this past week or so. And I put on my Facebook page my experience with Maya Angelou back in the 1970s. We were on a radio show, the Owen Spann Show, on KGO in San Francisco. And a caller called in and said something that she was all upset because she wasn't getting the attention that she wanted. And she said, I never forgot it, because she said, you know, the bird doesn't sing because it has an answer. It sings because it has a song, you know. And I encourage everybody honor Maya Angelou by singing your song, and while you're singing, make it a love song, because that's what she was about. You know, her biography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, because it has a song, not because it's demanding an answer. There are no answers, but we all have songs that we have to sing, and we don't want to, as Serena said, die with our music still inside of us.
Confucius was a Chinese teacher and philosopher whose philosophy strongly influenced Chinese life and culture for over 2,000 years. He had this to say about patience. Do not be desirous of having things done quickly. Do not look at small advantages. Desire to have things done quickly prevents their being done thoroughly. Looking at small advantages prevents great affairs from being accomplished. I have this quote of the ancient Chinese teacher and philosopher Confucius pasted above my typewriter as a gentle daily reminder to not do anything that will prevent great affairs from being accomplished. It seems to me that we have a great deal to learn from our nature about how we hinder our greatness. Yet it is our nature that we often ignore in favor of what our mind tells us is the way things ought to be. Patience is a key ingredient in the process of the natural world and in our personal world. For instance, if I scrape my arm or break a bone, the healing process proceeds precisely at its own pace, independent of any opinion I might have about it. That is the natural world at work. My desire to have it fixed quickly is of absolutely no consequence. If I imply that impatience of my personal world, I will prevent it from healing thoroughly, as Confucius advised over 25 centuries ago. Shakespeare's observation matches the wisdom of this ancient Chinese predecessor when Shakespeare wrote, "How poor are they that have not patience? What wound did ever heal but by degree?" When I was a child, I remember planting some radish seeds at springtime. When early summer arrived, I noticed green leafy shoots protruding above the ground, and I watched them grow a bit taller each day, and finally I couldn't stand it any longer, and I began to tug at those radish shoots, trying to get them to grow faster. I had not yet learned that nature reveals her secrets on her own time schedule. As I pulled at the tiny little leaves, they emerged from the ground sans radishes, and my childish impatience to have this thing done quickly prevented it from happening at all. Now, when I am asked if I am disappointed because one of my books did not appear on a bestseller list as my earlier books did, I think of this observation of the wise Chinese sage: great things have no fear of time. What a compliment it is to the genius of Confucius that his words are still being quoted and his knowledge still applied 2,500 years after his departure. I too write for those souls who have yet to materialize, and if that means sacrificing the small advantage of a position of prestige on a list somewhere today, my impatient ego may be puzzled, but I am content. Impatience breeds fear and stress and discouragement. Patience manifests in confidence, decisiveness, and a feeling of peaceful satisfaction. As you look at your own life, examine how frequently you demand an immediate indicator of success for yourself and others, and attempt instead to see the larger picture. When you are on purpose and see the larger picture, you are able to let go of an inclination to seek validation in the form of merit badges and immediate applause. Italian painter, sculptor, architect, and poet, this Renaissance artist, Michelangelo Buonarroti, is an outstanding figure in the history of the visual arts. Listen to these words he wrote in the 16th century. The greater danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but that it is too low and we reach it. One of the more frequent criticisms I have received is that I offer far too much hope for people in dire circumstances and that this could be a dangerous thing. Despite this kind of fault-finding, I am still at a loss as to how having too much hope could be a dangerous thing. When people tell me of a medical diagnosis which implies no cure being possible, I encourage them to shift their aim to a completely opposite outcome. I talk frequently about the law which has allowed any miracle that has ever occurred since the inception of time to take place. I explain that this law has never been repealed and is still on the books. I cite cases of people who were told to go home and wait to die, who were given 6 months to live, and who freed themselves of their illnesses and their diagnoses. I receive mail every day from people who refuse to listen to the low aims and the low hopes that others have had for them, describing how grateful they were for a message of hope in difficult times. I believe that Michelangelo, who lived a few days shy of 89 years, still sculpting, painting, writing, and designing, in an age when 90 was about 60 years beyond normal life expectancy, was speaking to this idea of having very high hopes and aims in this famous quotation of his. The danger is not in false hope, rather it is in no hope or low hope, and consequently our objectives and aims are diminished by our belief before they can even be worked on and materialized. This not only concerns the overcoming of physical maladies, it includes virtually everything in our lives. The world is full of people who have aimed low and thought small, who want to impose this diminutive thinking on any who will listen to them. The real danger is the act of giving up or setting standards of smallness for ourselves with low expectations. Listen carefully to Michelangelo, the man who is considered by many to be the greatest artist of all time. I recall personally standing in front of the statue of David in Florence and being transfixed. The size, the majesty, the spirit that seemed to jump right out of the marble was Michelangelo saying to all of us, aim high. When he was asked how he could create such a masterpiece, he responded that David was already in the marble. He simply had to chip away the excess to allow him to escape. High aim indeed. And speaking of high, take a look sometime at the Sistine Chapel, where Michelangelo painted the ceiling by lying on his back and working every day for 4 years between 1508 and 1512, a project that lesser artists would have considered to be impossible. Yet Michelangelo took it on, and many more, in a lifetime crammed full of high energy, high talent, and yes, high aim.
I want to share with you this one exercise that I learned, that I have been practicing, and that is very profound. If you want the qualities of your higher self, remember, I'm speaking here now about God, the God within you, the almighty, omniscient person that you are, the energy that is your birthright, but you have lost sight of because of your coming to believe things to be true, which only take you to places called ordinary. If you want the qualities of your higher self to flow down into your lower self, you're going to have to bring your imagination into play. Now, I'll be speaking in the last part of tonight's talk about the power of the imagination. It's the greatest gift you've ever been given, and everything that exists in the physical world once started in someone's imagination, including you. If you want the qualities of your higher self to flow down into this lower self, where you can become this almighty, omniscient, omnipotent being, you're going to have to bring your imagination into play. You are down here on earth. Using your imagination, you focus on your higher self in the world above and picture him looking down at you. In other words, from that higher level, you look down and see yourself and the imperfect conditions in which you live. Keeping this thought before you, you set in motion a current, an invisible current that flows between the self that is above and the self that is below. In this way, you are restoring the vital link between you, for from down here, you are thinking that you are up there, and up there, you are conscious that you are down here, thinking of yourself up above. It's very difficult to explain this clearly, as you can see. At the same time, you divide yourself, you also unify yourself. You divide yourself into two, one above and one below. The one above, your true self, watches the one below as he meditates on that self above. And in this way, an extraordinary current is established between the two, making it possible for your superconscious to develop. You stay with your eyes closed, conscious at the same time that you are there in your room, a living, thinking being, while your all-powerful, omniscient higher self above sees his reflection and recognizes himself in you. Seeing himself, he smiles at you, perhaps even laughs a little. And you watch from below and begin to get to know him while he watches you from above. In this way, the gulf between the higher and the lower poles of your being begin to narrow until one day it disappears, and they are fused into one. When this happens, your lower self no longer exists. That lower self, the ego, which is not a true reality, disappears, and all that is left is your real higher self. No more weakness, no more discouragement, no more darkness. You become omniscient, immortal, and eternal. Now, it sounds like, well, I'll just go ahead and do that, and it's all going to just work out for me. But what I'm really saying here is that it's an exercise that if you begin to practice it for about 30 minutes a day in your meditation and begin to picture this higher part of you, your origination place, the spark of God that is you, where you came from. Not just because I'm speaking from a spiritual perspective, but whoever the quantum physicists are that are watching and listening tonight, whoever they are as well, they all know that it is an invisible field of energy from which all things originate, to which all things return. That is your essence. It is your true self. And if you can just get that higher self to become 1 or 2 or 3% of who you are, you can begin to access through your intuition the kinds of things that your false self doesn't allow. Muktananda called the ego the false self, because in those first 9 months of your existence, from that spark of God that you were, when everything that you needed for this physical journey was handled in there in this miraculous way that is just too profound and too mysterious for us even to begin to fathom, isn't it? It's the great mystery, isn't it? That's what the Tao teaches us. Live the mystery. Don't be afraid to wander into the unknown. Don't be afraid to know that this music that you came here to play is calling you. It's begging you. You can't fulfill somebody else's dharma. You can't do it the way your family wants you to do it. You can't do it the way they did it before. You have to go within and know that this is my calling. Abraham Maslow taught me when I was a young doctoral student, you must learn to be independent of the good opinion of other people. You must learn to detach yourself from outcome. That's what self-actualizing people do. Those are the two most important qualities. Detachment from outcome. You don't do what you do because of what you're going to make or what kind of rewards you're going to get or how people are going to like you. You do what you do because it's your passion, because you won't allow anything else to be but what you feel inside. It's what I used to call being a scurvy elephant. And somehow I know that the part of the journey towards enlightenment, it's really about, honestly, it's about letting go. It's about doing less and accomplishing more. It's about not struggling. It's about, in the Tao, Lao Tzu speaks about water all the time. Live like water. It's the softest substance in the world, and yet it's the strongest. It stays low. Practice radical humility. It goes from the high places all the way down to the low. Why is the ocean the strongest force on the universe? On our planet, rather, because it stays low. It lets the streams and rivers fight and work, but they all end up down here. Stay that way. Find God in nature. All of these kinds of things I learned and practiced. But the ego teaches us that who we are is not this divine being, that if we let it go and just guided but stepped aside and allowed. And when Sky was singing those songs and said, thank you when it came my time to go. Thank you for the freedom when it came my time to go. Who am I to tell my own children that they should do what I want them to do when I never did any of that my entire life? And when she wanted to drop out of school and out of college at the University of Miami and pursue singing and go out, she said, Dad, I just can't listen to one more lecture on music theater. I want to sing. I want to write my own music. But she thought she was disappointing me. If you knew how much the tuition was there, you could know there was no being upset about that at all. No, I'm kidding. The idea that I should be imposing or telling her what to do. When Serena went and applied for law school and got in within a month or so, took the LSAT, got a high score, went over, got herself accepted to law school. And she was there for about 3 weeks. And she said, this is just something that I do not want to be doing. And she had a knowing, because I always knew that you not only have to experience what you don't want, you have to experience what you do want and what you don't want. You have to experience those things. I spent 4 years in the military knowing that this is not what I wanted to be, someone who took orders and dressed just like everybody else. There are other people who do these things, but not for me. And I understood that with her, and she sent me a text message, and I let it sit there for about 6 or 7 hours, and she was so worried that I was going to be disappointed because I remember helping her write her, her essay to get in. I said, you're not going to write the kind of essay that everybody else writes they want to get into law school. We're going to write an essay that's going to knock their socks off, you know. And she got accepted. And she left, and I said, you leave with my blessing. You do what you know that you have to do. And the same with Tracy when she decided to leave and so on. It's like practicing a kind of respect for a person's higher self, that this little being, Khalil Gibran put it this way, he said, your children are not your children. They are the products of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not for you. They come through you. None of my children ever saw me ask them for the report cards their whole life. It just wasn't a big deal to me. You're going to school. These are your grades. This is your life. I'm here to support you, guide you. But you don't have to get good grades because of me. My daughter Summers called me the other day. She said, I'm going to make you so proud next May because I'm going to graduate from college, and you never thought I would. I said, honey, that won't make me proud at all. I'm not interested in that whatsoever. If you want to graduate from college, it's your choice. I'll be there, and I love you. But things that make me proud are who you are, the being that you are. You don't have to satisfy me or fulfill me in any way. It's a hard lesson, but it's also one of, I have 8 children, and I'm close to every one of them. Love every one of them, and they love me. I feel it and know it in my bones every day. And it's because one of the reasons is that I do not live and fulfill my destiny and my dharma through them any more than I expect them to do it through me. I just don't go that way. The Tao says, do nothing and get everything done. Let go. Allow. The ego says, I have to do more. And there's a real irony in this. It's very hard to explain this to people, but you can get more done by doing less. That's one of the verses in the Tao that I worked on, and I swim every day in the ocean. Every day. Usually an hour a day, freestyle, in the open ocean. Or I do it at the pool, if I'm on the road. And I decided to see if I could swim by doing nothing. Just propel myself through the water, but take the effort out. Just let myself go through the water and just allow my body to move through the water the way it knows how to do. And I stopped working at it and stopped trying. I swam better, faster, less stress. It's one of those amazing things. I mean, I watch the really great athletes. I watch Michael Jordan. And I don't think he's out there doing what he does because he's trying so hard. It's like, and people will say to me, well, when you write or when you speak, you make it look so easy. It's because I repeat, before I get introduced for a talk like this, I repeat a line from A Course in Miracles. And this line says that if you knew who walked beside you at all times on this path that you have chosen, you could never experience fear or doubt again. And I don't deliver the talks. God gives all the talks, builds all the bridges, writes all the books, and I just allow it to flow through me.
The door has always been there. You must open your eyes to see it. Too often we wander through life blinded by our own fears, doubts, and limitations. The door to your destiny is not something that suddenly appears. It has always been there, but in order to walk through it, you must recognize it. Consider a person standing before a locked door, holding the key in their hand but unaware of its power. That key is your faith, your imagination, and your willingness to step into the unknown. How many times have you overlooked an opportunity because it did not come in the form you expected? A woman once prayed for financial freedom, expecting a grand miracle, but what she received was an idea that if acted upon could have led her to wealth. Instead, She dismissed it. Why? Because she did not recognize that the idea was the open door. She waited for a handout when God had given her a hand up. You must train your mind to perceive beyond the surface. The doors God opens are often disguised as challenges, as moments requiring courage, as whispers in the stillness of your soul. To see them, you must be spiritually awake. Your state of mind determines whether you walk through the door. The greatest barrier to stepping through God's open door is not external, it is internal. Your beliefs, emotions, and mental state shape the reality you experience. If you believe that you are unworthy, that success is for others, but not for you, you will find yourself standing at the threshold but never entering.
Wow.
Why? Because a person who believes they are unworthy will unconsciously sabotage their blessings. A young man once dreamt of becoming an author. He had a brilliant book idea, but never wrote a single word. Every time he sat down to write, he thought, who am I to write this? He allowed his doubt to become his prison. The door was open, but he refused to step through. When God opens a door, you must align your mind and emotions with the reality you wish to experience. Build the vision of yourself already walking through that door, embracing the new season with confidence. The mind is the gateway. Change your thoughts, and you change your world. Faith is the key that unlocks the door. Many stand before opportunities, waiting for proof, waiting for certainty. But faith is not about seeing before believing. It is about believing before seeing. Imagine a farmer planting seeds. He does not dig them up every day to check if they are growing. He waters them, nurtures them, and trusts that the harvest will come. Likewise, when God places an open door before you, you must walk through it in faith. A man once lost his job and feared for his future. But instead of succumbing to worry, he chose faith. He thanked God in advance for the better opportunity that was surely coming. Within weeks, he received a job offer, one that paid more, aligned with his passion, and brought him joy. Faith does not wait for conditions to be perfect. It steps forward knowing that God is faithful. When you trust in divine timing, doors will open where you once saw walls. Fear will try to keep you from walking through the door. Whenever God presents an opportunity, fear will whisper, what if you fail? What if you are not ready? Fear is the last test before the breakthrough. The enemy knows that if you walk through this door, you will step into your divine purpose. So he plants seeds of doubt, hoping you will turn back. Think of Moses standing before the Red Sea. Behind him, Pharaoh's army. Before him, an impassable body of water. Fear told him to retreat, but faith told him to move forward. The moment he acted in faith, the waters parted. You must do the same. If fear arises, recognize it for what it is, a shadow, a lie meant to keep you small. Walk through the door anyway. Preparation positions you to receive the blessing behind the door. An unprepared person can walk through an open door and still fail to receive the blessing. A man once prayed for a business opportunity. When it came, he was not ready. He had not honed his skills, developed discipline, or built the right mindset. He entered the opportunity unprepared and lost it. God does not give us doors we are not capable of handling. If the door is before you, it means He has already equipped you. But you must do your part. Develop your skills, cultivate your faith, and be ready to step into the blessing. Gratitude opens more doors. Gratitude is a magnet for blessings. When you acknowledge the doors God has already opened, He will open even greater ones. A woman once desired a promotion. Instead of complaining about her current job, she started thanking God for it every day. She worked with excellence, spoke life over her situation, and remained joyful. Within months, she was offered not just a promotion, but a leadership role beyond her dreams. Gratitude shifts your energy. It tells the universe, I am ready for more. And when you are ready, more doors will open. The greatest doors lead you closer to God. Not all doors are meant to be walked through. Some lead to distraction, others to destruction.
The door God opens will always align with His purpose for your life. When faced with a decision, ask yourself, does this door bring me closer to my divine calling, or does it pull me away? If it brings peace, joy, and a sense of alignment, it is from God. If it causes confusion and unease, be cautious. A man once received 2 job offers, one with higher pay but moral compromise, another with less pay but aligned with his values. He chose the latter. Years later, that job opened doors beyond what he could imagine. God's doors lead to purpose. Trust His direction. When you walk through, your life will never be the same. The moment you step through God's open door, transformation begins. You will see yourself differently, experience new levels of favor, and realize that everything you once feared was only an illusion. A caterpillar enters the cocoon, not realizing it is stepping into transformation. It emerges a butterfly, forever changed. Likewise, when you step through the door God has opened for you, you will not be the same person on the other side. This is your moment. The door is before you. Walk through it with boldness, knowing that what awaits you is greater than anything you are leaving behind. When God is opening a powerful door for you, don't miss it. The door has always been there, waiting for you to see it. It is not something that suddenly appears, not something distant or beyond your reach. It has been before you all along, but your ability to recognize it depends entirely on the state of your mind, the clarity of your vision, and your willingness to step forward in faith. Life often presents itself as a series of locked doors, obstacles that seem to deny entry, barriers that keep us from reaching the life we desire. But what if these doors are not locked at all? What if they are simply waiting for you to acknowledge them? So many people stand before opportunity, unaware that the handle is already within their grasp. They wait for external validation, for a sign, for a push from the outside world. But in doing so, they fail to realize that the only thing missing is their own willingness to turn the handle and step through. Imagine a man who has spent years working tirelessly at a job that drains him. Each morning he wakes up feeling trapped, believing that his circumstances are unchangeable. He dreams of a better life, a career that fulfills him, financial freedom that allows him to provide for his family without struggle. He prays for an opportunity, for a breakthrough, for God to intervene. Yet every day when he walks past the bookstore, he ignores the pull in his heart to step inside and browse the business section. Every evening when he feels an idea spark in his mind about starting his own business, he dismisses it as foolishness, thinking he is not smart enough, not connected enough, not ready. He does not see that the door has already been opened. Opportunities rarely announce themselves with fanfare. They come quietly in moments of inspiration, in ideas that seem small at first, in whispers that speak to the depths of your soul. The woman who prays for a financial blessing, but ignores the intuitive nudge to start selling her artwork online. The student who longs for a breakthrough, but dismisses an unexpected conversation with someone who could open a door for them. The single parent who desires a new life, but overlooks the chance encounter that could lead to a new career. The doors are there, but they require you to open your eyes. The reason most people fail to recognize these doors is because they expect them to look a certain way. They imagine that when God opens a door, it will come wrapped in perfection, requiring no effort, no courage, no faith, but that is not how the divine works. Doors often appear in the form of challenges, in the form of decisions that require risk, in the form of circumstances that demand trust. The Israelites stood before the Red Sea, unable to see that their deliverance was right in front of them. They saw an obstacle, but God saw a passage. Only when they moved forward in faith did the way become clear. In the same way, your open door may not look the way you expect it to. It may appear in the form of an ending, a job loss, a relationship that fades, a plan that falls apart, only to make room for something far greater. It may come as an idea, a prompting,
A sudden realization that the thing you have been waiting for has been waiting for you all along. But in order to walk through, you must first recognize that the door exists. And even after seeing the door, many hesitate. They stand before it unsure if they are worthy, uncertain if they are ready. This is where your state of mind determines everything, because an opportunity means nothing if the person standing before it does not believe they are capable of receiving it. A person's inner world shapes their outer reality. If you do not believe that you are deserving of success, you will walk away from the very opportunities designed to bring you success. If you do not see yourself as someone who is worthy of love, you will reject the very love that comes into your life. If you do not think you are smart enough, talented enough, or ready enough, you will find a reason to stay where you are, even when God is calling you forward. The story of the Israelites is a perfect example. They were freed from slavery, yet they still carried the mindset of slaves. God had opened the door to the promised land, but because they saw themselves as small, as incapable, as unworthy, they wandered for 40 years instead of stepping into their blessing. How many people are wandering through life, circling the same struggles, because they refuse to change their perception of themselves? They stand before open doors but never enter because their mind tells them they cannot. A young woman dreamed of being a public speaker, but every time she had the chance to step onto a stage, she told herself, "I'm not ready." She watched as others took opportunities she once prayed for. The problem was never that doors weren't opening. It was that she didn't believe she was ready to walk through them. God does not open doors you are not capable of walking through. If the opportunity has appeared, it means He has already equipped you. But until you shift your belief, you will stand at the threshold and never step in. What is holding you back from stepping into what God has prepared for you? Fear. A belief that you are not worthy. If you find yourself hesitating, you must understand this. It is not the door that is stopping you, it is your perception of yourself. There was a man who spent years dreaming of financial freedom, but lived with a scarcity mindset. Every time an opportunity to invest in himself came, he said, "I can't afford it." Every time he had the chance to grow, he said, "I'm not ready." He believed wealth was for other people, that success was reserved for those born into better circumstances. And so, even when doors opened, he never walked through. Contrast this with another man who had no more resources than the first, but believed in the abundance of God. He took chances and trusted the process and saw opportunities where others saw limitations. When a business opportunity came, he did not ask, "What if I fail?" but rather, "What if this is my breakthrough?" He stepped forward, and the doors kept opening. This is the difference between those who walk through the doors God opens and those who remain on the outside. Your mind is the gatekeeper of your destiny. If you believe you are limited, you will experience limitation. If you believe you are destined for greatness, the world will begin to arrange itself in your favor. The key to walking through an open door is not found in waiting for more signs, more certainty, or more external proof. It is found in aligning your mind with the reality you desire. See yourself as already stepping through. Feel the emotion of already living in the blessing. When your mind accepts the new reality, your actions will naturally follow. God has placed an open door before you. It is not in the future. It is not outside your reach. It is here now, waiting for you to step forward. But you must first recognize it. And then you must believe that you are worthy to walk through. What if everything you desire is on the other side of this door? What if instead of waiting for a sign, you are the one who must take the first step? Do not let fear keep you where you are. Do not let doubt rob you of your blessing. The door is open, and the time is now. There comes a moment when hesitation must be abandoned. A moment when you must silence the doubts that have echoed in your mind for far too long. The door is open, but it will not pull you through. It requires an act of faith. It demands a decision. Too often people stand before their blessing analyzing, questioning, and waiting for absolute certainty before they move. But certainty is not the requirement. Faith is. Consider a man who stands at the edge of a vast ocean, longing to reach the other side. He has a boat, he has the tools, and yet he remains on the shore, debating whether the journey is safe. He calculates the waves, worries about the wind, wonders if the boat is sturdy enough. He waits for the sea to become still, for perfect conditions that will never come. And so years pass, and he remains where he started, though the ability to cross was always within him. This is how so many people live their lives. They ask for opportunities, but when the opportunity appears, they hesitate. They ask for change, but when the moment to step into change arrives, they shrink back into comfort. The fear of failure, the fear of stepping into the unknown, becomes greater than the desire to claim what is already theirs. But hesitation is the enemy of transformation. There was a woman who had spent her life in an unfulfilling job, dreaming of starting her own business. Every day she longed for freedom, prayed for a breakthrough, and imagined herself walking in purpose. Then one day an unexpected opportunity arose, a chance to invest in herself, to take a leap, to step through the very door she had been asking for. But instead of moving forward, she hesitated. She told herself she wasn't ready. She questioned whether it was truly the right time. She let doubt creep in, and as a result, the opportunity passed. She remained exactly where she was, not because she lacked the ability, but because she refused to move when the door opened. The most successful people in the world are not those who never experience doubt or fear. They are those who refuse to let doubt and fear paralyze them. They move despite uncertainty. They take risks when nothing is guaranteed. They understand that God does not reveal the entire path before asking you to step forward. He simply opens the door and waits for you to walk in faith. A man who wants to become a leader will never become one if he waits until he feels fully prepared. A woman who desires love will never experience it if she keeps rejecting opportunities to open her heart. A person who dreams of financial breakthrough will never receive it if they hesitate every time an investment opportunity arises. The door is open, but you must walk through. One of the greatest examples of this truth can be found in the story of Peter walking on water. When Jesus called him, the water was not calm. The sea did not suddenly turn into solid ground. The storm was still raging, but Peter took a step, and as long as his focus remained on faith, he walked above the waves. It was only when he hesitated, when he allowed doubt to enter his mind, that he began to sink. This is what happens when hesitation takes over. The door may be open, but if you refuse to walk through, you will miss what has been prepared for you. And the greatest tragedy is not that the door closes. It is that you will never know what was waiting on the other side. Some people live their entire lives standing in the doorway, never experiencing the fullness of what they were meant for. They let fear of the unknown, fear of judgment, fear of failure, keep them trapped in mediocrity. They convince themselves that if the door is truly meant for them, it will wait forever. But doors do not stay open indefinitely. There is a divine timing to every opportunity, and hesitation is the quickest way to miss it. Imagine a man who receives an offer for his dream job. It is in another city, far from everything he has known. It requires him to leave his comfort zone, to step into something unfamiliar. Instead of embracing it, he hesitates, he makes excuses, he overthinks. Weeks pass, and the company moves on, offering the position to someone else. The door was open, but he did not walk through, and now it is gone. Contrast this with another man who, despite his fear, steps forward. He does not have all the answers, but he trusts that if the opportunity has come, it means he is ready. He moves, he learns, he adapts, and before he knows it, he is thriving in the very life he once only dreamed of. The difference between these two men was not intelligence, not talent, not luck. It was the willingness to move when the door opened. God does not require you to have it all figured out before you take a step. He simply requires trust. He requires action. When you take the first step, the path begins to reveal itself. The resources appear, the right people come into your life, and what once seemed impossible begins to unfold. But none of this happens if you remain in hesitation. You must be willing to let go of the need for absolute certainty. You must be willing to act. Even when fear whispers that you are not ready, you must be willing to silence the voice that tells you to wait for a better time, a better sign, a better moment, because the moment is now. Opportunities come and go. Some doors, once missed, do not reopen. Some moments, once passed, do not return. The regret of not trying, of not moving when you had the chance, is far worse than the discomfort of stepping into the unknown. There was once a woman who wanted to write a book. She had the idea, the passion, the vision, but every time she sat down to begin, she convinced herself she wasn't ready. She needed more research, more preparation, more time. Years passed, and she never wrote a single page. Then one day she saw a book published by someone else, an idea almost identical to hers. The very story she was meant to tell was now being told by another. The door had been opened for her, but she hesitated, and while she waited, someone else walked through. How many dreams have died in the waiting? How many blessings have been lost in hesitation? How many people have missed their moment because they let fear decide for them? There is no perfect time. There is no perfect scenario. If the door is open, it is your time. If the opportunity has appeared, it is because you are ready. If the chance is in front of you, it is because you have been prepared for it. But you must act. God does not open doors for you to stare at them. He opens them for you to walk through. He does not place opportunities before you so that you can debate whether you are worthy. He places them before you because He already knows that you are. The question is not whether the door is open. The question is whether you will walk through it. You must decide, and you must decide quickly. Because while you hesitate, while you wait for absolute certainty, the door may close. The opportunity may pass. Someone else may step into the very blessing that was meant for you. Fear will always be present when stepping into something greater. Doubt will always try to keep you where you are. But neither fear nor doubt has the power to stop you unless you give it that power. The door is open. The path is before you. The only thing left to do is move. Will you step forward, or will you let hesitation rob you of the life that is already waiting? There comes a time when you must recognize that what you seek is already seeking you. The doors you pray for, the opportunities you long for, the breakthroughs you desire, they are not distant dreams waiting in some far-off future. They are present now. But the challenge is not whether the door is open. The challenge is whether you are in the right state to perceive it. Most people believe that opportunities come randomly, that they appear by luck or coincidence. But nothing in this universe is random. Everything operates by divine order, by a law that is as consistent as the rising and setting of the sun. The door does not open because you wish it would. It opens because you have aligned yourself with it. You have stepped into the vibration, the mindset, and the readiness required to walk through it. Imagine someone who has been praying for a new job. Every day they ask God to bless them with an opportunity. But when an opportunity arises, they doubt themselves. They say, I don't think I'm qualified. What if I fail? What if this isn't the right time? The opportunity was given, but because they were still trapped in a mindset of fear and unworthiness, they could not recognize it as the very thing they had asked for. This happens every day. People pray for relationships, but when love comes, they reject it because they are still holding on to past wounds. They pray for financial abundance, but when an investment opportunity arises,
They dismiss because they are afraid of risk. They pray for new beginnings, but when the door to change appears, they hesitate because it does not come in the way they expected. You must understand that God's ways are higher than yours. The opportunity will not always come in the way you imagine. The door may not look like a grand entrance. It may appear as a small step, a whisper, a chance encounter, a decision that seems insignificant at the time. But if you are not in the right state of mind, you will miss it. A man once dreamt of being a leader in his field. He worked hard, studied, and did everything he thought was necessary. Then one day, a mentor offered him an entry-level position in a company he admired. It was not the leadership role he wanted, but it was a foot in the door. Instead of recognizing it as the path to his destiny, he dismissed it as too small, too beneath him. Years later, he looked back and realized that if he had taken that opportunity, he would have grown into the leader he desired to be. But because he was not in the right mindset, he missed his open door. This is why preparation is everything. You must be mentally, emotionally, and spiritually ready before the door opens. You cannot wait until opportunity comes to start preparing. You must already be in alignment, already be living as if the blessing is here, already be moving in faith, because when the moment arrives, there will be no time to get ready. You must already be ready. This is the difference between those who seize their destiny and those who miss it. One is always preparing, always sharpening their skills, always staying in faith. The other is waiting, doubting, hesitating. When the door opens, the prepared walk through with confidence, while the unprepared stand still, trying to gather the courage that should have already been developed. You must decide today to be ready. You must walk in expectation. You must train your mind to see the opportunity, even when it does not look the way you thought it would, because God is not limited by your expectations. He is not bound by your limited understanding. What He has prepared for you is greater than anything you could imagine, but you must have the eyes to see it. A woman once desired a life of abundance. She had struggled financially for years and wanted change. She prayed for a breakthrough, for an open door to prosperity. One day, a friend introduced her to a business opportunity. It was different from anything she had ever done before. It required her to learn new skills, to step into the unknown, to take risks. Instead of embracing it, she rejected it, saying, "This isn't the way I thought it would happen." She wanted abundance, but she expected it to come in a different form, because she was not mentally prepared to receive it in this way. She dismissed the very door she had prayed for. How many times have you done the same? How many times have you overlooked an opportunity because it did not come wrapped in the package you expected? How many times have you ignored the small steps, the divine nudges, the chance encounters, because they did not look the way you thought they should? You must shift your perspective. You must begin to see everything as a potential door. Every challenge, every conversation, every invitation, every discomfort, these are all possible keys to your next level. If you are always expecting, always in a state of readiness, you will never miss your door. But if you are closed off, waiting for it to appear exactly as you imagined, you will overlook the very thing that could change your life. There was once a man who lost everything, his business, his home, his financial stability. He prayed for restoration, asking God to open a new door. But instead of a business opportunity, he was offered a job cleaning offices. It was beneath him. It was not what he wanted. But he humbled himself and took it. A year later, while working, he met the CEO of a company who saw his diligence and integrity. That CEO offered him a new position, which led him back into the business world, but now at a higher level than before. The job he had dismissed as too small was the door to his restoration. This is the power of recognizing the open door, no matter how it appears. Sometimes the door does not look grand. Sometimes it is disguised as struggle, as discomfort,
as a new challenge that stretches you. But if you embrace it, if you move forward in faith, you will find that it leads to exactly what you have been asking for. People often say they are waiting on God, but in reality, God is waiting on them. The door is open, but they are too distracted, too doubtful, too unprepared to walk through it. They wait for signs, for confirmations, for absolute certainty before they move. But faith does not require certainty. It requires trust. It requires action. It requires the boldness to step into the unknown, believing that what you seek is already waiting for you. You must train yourself to recognize the opportunity in everything. When you face a challenge, ask yourself, what door is hidden within this? When you meet someone new, ask, is this a connection leading me to my next step? When you feel uncomfortable in your current situation, ask, is this the moment I am meant to step forward? Because the answer is always there. The door is always there, but you must be willing to see it. Nothing happens by accident. Every delay, every rejection, every redirection, it is all leading you somewhere. The key is to stop resisting and start recognizing. Stop questioning and start stepping. Stop waiting and start moving. Because the moment you decide to see the door, the moment you choose to align yourself with it, nothing can keep you from what has already been prepared for you. You must not be passive. You must not wait for life to hand you everything neatly wrapped. You must take action. You must move in faith. You must recognize that the door is already open. The only thing left to do is walk through. Life is constantly unfolding before you, revealing paths that lead to your divine purpose. But the challenge is not whether the doors are opening. The challenge is whether you are spiritually, mentally, and emotionally ready to step through them. Too often, people hesitate when opportunity arises, not because the door is closed, but because their own fear, doubt, and lack of preparation keep them from recognizing it. They ask for signs, they wait for the perfect moment, and they search for certainty before they act. But the truth is, the moment you begin to trust that God is guiding you, the doors that seemed invisible suddenly become clear. Fear is the greatest barrier between you and the life that is waiting for you. When an opportunity appears, fear whispers, what if I fail? What if I am not good enough? What if this is not the right time? And so, instead of moving forward, people retreat into the safety of the familiar, clinging to what is known rather than embracing the possibility of something greater. But God does not operate in fear. He operates in faith. And faith requires action. You cannot sit still and expect transformation to happen. You must move forward, even when you cannot see the entire path. There was once a man who dreamed of becoming a speaker, inspiring people with his words. For years he read books, studied the great orators, and visualized himself on stage. Then one day, he was given the opportunity to speak at a small gathering. It was not a grand stage, it was not in front of thousands, but it was an open door. Yet instead of stepping into it, he hesitated. He doubted himself. He told himself he needed more preparation, more confidence, more proof that he was ready. So he declined the opportunity, telling himself he would take the next one. But the next one never came. Years later, he looked back and realized that the door had been there all along. He had just been too afraid to walk through it. God does not require you to be perfect before He blesses you. He only requires you to be willing. When Moses was called to lead, he doubted himself, saying he was not eloquent enough. When Gideon was called to be a mighty warrior, he questioned why God would choose someone so small. When Peter was called to walk on water, he hesitated the moment he let fear enter his heart. Every great transformation begins with doubt, but the ones who walk into their destiny are the ones who move despite the doubt. You must decide today that fear will no longer hold you captive. You must decide that no matter how uncertain you feel, no matter how unqualified you think you are, you will step forward in faith, because the moment you do, God will meet you where you are. He will give you the words when you need to speak, the strength when you need to act, the wisdom when you need to decide. But you must take the first step. There was once a woman who longed for a better life. She worked a job that drained her, lived in a place that made her unhappy, and felt stuck in a cycle she could not escape. She prayed for change, asking God to open a door. Then one day an unexpected opportunity arose, an invitation to move to a new city, to start fresh, to pursue a career she had always dreamed of. But instead of embracing it, she hesitated. She thought of all the things that could go wrong, all the challenges she might face, all the uncertainty ahead. She let fear make the decision for her, and in doing so, she let the door close. Years later, she looked back and realized that the answer to her prayer had been right in front of her. She had just been too afraid to take it. God's timing is divine. He does not place doors before you by accident. Every opportunity that arises, every nudge in your spirit, every discomfort that pushes you to change, it is all part of His plan. But you must recognize that His timing is not your timing. You may think you are not ready. You may think the conditions are not perfect. But God does not wait for perfect conditions. He calls you when it is time, and when He calls, you must answer. There are people who live their entire lives waiting for a better moment, waiting for a sign that is so clear, so undeniable that they will have no choice but to act. But life does not work that way. The greatest opportunities come disguised as small steps. The most powerful breakthroughs come in moments of uncertainty. If you wait for absolute clarity before you move, you will never move. You must trust that if the door is before you, it is meant for you. Imagine standing in front of a door that is already open, but refusing to walk through it because you are unsure of what is on the other side. Imagine standing before the very opportunity you prayed for, but hesitating because it does not look exactly as you expected. This is what so many people do. They ask for change, but when change presents itself, they resist it. They ask for blessings, but when blessings come in the form of challenge or discomfort, they turn away. But the ones who step forward, even in uncertainty, are the ones who see miracles unfold in their lives. A young man once dreamed of becoming a musician. He worked tirelessly on his craft, believing that one day God would open a door for him. Then one day, he was invited to perform at a small local event. It was not a big stage. It was not what he had envisioned, but it was an opportunity. He embraced it, gave it his all, and from that one event, he was noticed by someone who opened another door, then another. Years later, he looked back and realized that had he ignored that small opportunity, he would have never stepped into his destiny. Your breakthrough will not always come in the form of a grand event. It may come through an introduction, a conversation, a decision to say yes to something outside of your comfort zone. This is why you must stay spiritually alert. You must be willing to say yes, even when you do not feel ready, because when you walk through the door, you will find that God has already prepared everything you need. Doubt will try to keep you stuck. It will tell you that now is not the time, that you are not capable, that you need more proof. But doubt is not from God. God does not place dreams in your heart only to let them fade away. If He has given you the vision, He has already provided the way. You must trust in that. Even when you cannot see how everything will unfold, look at your life right now. What doors are before you? What opportunities have presented themselves, even in the smallest ways? What discomfort are you feeling that may be pushing you toward your next level? Do not ignore these signs. Do not wait for absolute certainty. Do not let fear convince you that staying where you are is safer than stepping into something new, because the truth is God has already answered your prayers. He has already made a way. The only thing left to do is walk through the door,